Gregory Miller straightened his formal diplomatic uniform and took a deep breath. Today would be different. After 15 years as the human ambassador to the Galactic Council, he had learned to control his expressions, to hide his frustration behind practiced smiles. But today those masks would fall away. "Are you ready, sir?" Lyra Sutton asked, handing him the data tablet containing his presentation. Her eyes showed concern. As his assistant for the past decade, she knew him well enough to sense the shift in his demeanor. "As ready as I'll ever be, Lyra," he replied, taking the tablet. "Earth Command confirmed Protocol Omega this morning." Lyra's eyes widened slightly, but she maintained her professional composure. "I see. Then today is truly the day." They walked together through the ornate corridors of the Concordia space station. The massive structure housed the Galactic Council, chambers, and served as neutral ground for the 27 spacefaring civilizations that made up the Council. Alien representatives from across the galaxy passed them, some nodding in recognition, others deliberately looking away. The grand doors to the Council chamber slid open. The room was a massive amphitheater, with delegates seated in tiered sections according to their species. At the center stood the speaking platform, currently occupied by Councillor Voxthar, the reptilian head of the Council. "And so we conclude that the draconian request for mining rights in the Verge sector is approved," Voxthar announced, his scaled skin gleaming under the chamber lights. "Next on our agenda, we have the human complaint regarding border security. Ambassador Miller, you may approach." Gregory walked to the platform, nodding respectfully to Voxthar as the reptilian returned to his seat. The chamber fell into a hush of whispers and clicks as various species communicated their usual disdain. "Esteemed members of the Council," Gregory began, his voice clear and strong. "For the 5th time this cycle, I come before you with evidence of attacks on human colonies." He activated his data tablet and holographic images appeared above the platform. They showed ships with Council markings providing weapons to Zendari pirates, followed by footage of those same pirates attacking the human colony on Horizon. 3 days ago, the settlement of New Portland on Horizon was raided. 42 humans died. 17 were taken as captives. Gregory swiped to show the next image. The attackers used weapons that bear the manufacturing codes of Council armories. The same weapons that were supposedly sent for the defense of the Rigelian outposts. Councillor Genti, an insectoid representative known for his anti-human stance, clicked his mandibles loudly. These images could easily be fabricated. Humans are known for their creative fiction. Gregory expected this response. "We anticipated your skepticism, Counselor. That is why we included authentication codes and raw data that can be verified by any member's security teams." "Even if these attacks occurred," Voxthar interjected, "there is no proof that the Council bears responsibility for how these weapons were used after distribution." Gregory kept his face neutral, though inside his anger burned. The Council Charter, which Earth signed in good faith, guarantees mutual protection and security cooperation. Yet when humans are attacked, we receive only excuses. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien voices. Some shouted denials, others made sounds that human vocal cords could never reproduce. Gregory stood firm at the platform, waiting for order to be restored. Voxthar banged his ceremonial staff against the floor. "Order, we will have order." When the noise subsided, Councillor Genti rose again. "Perhaps this would be a good time to discuss the motion I proposed last session. Given the humans' constant security concerns, it seems prudent to restrict their expansion and technology development until they can better protect what they already have." Gregory's heart sank. This was exactly what Earth Command had warned might happen. "Counselor, you propose to punish us for being victims of attacks that the Council refuses to prevent?" "I propose responsible oversight," Genti replied smoothly. "The vote was already scheduled for today's session." Voxthar nodded. "Indeed. Let us proceed with the vote on Proposal 279B, regarding restrictions on human expansion and technology sharing." Gregory tried to protest. "This is not what this session was called for. We came seeking justice for an attack, not further restrictions on our sovereignty." "The Council sets its own agenda, Ambassador," Voxthar said coldly. "Members, please, Register your votes. Around the chamber, representatives pressed buttons on their consoles. A holographic display in the center of the room showed the tally growing. Green for approval of the restrictions, red for rejection. The green bar grew longer and longer. Gregory watched in dismay as even species that traded regularly with humans voted for the restrictions. Only 3 representatives voted against. The Arcturians, who had a long alliance with Earth, the Centaurians, whose philosophy opposed all restrictions, and the Proximans, whose ambassador Meridian had always been fair to humans. The proposal passes with an overwhelming majority, Voxthar announced, satisfaction evident in his voice. Effective immediately, human expansion is limited to their current territories, and all technology development must be registered with and approved by the Council's Science Directorate. Gregory's communication device vibrated in his pocket. He discreetly checked it while Voxthar continued outlining the new restrictions. It was a message from Earth Command. Protocol Omega confirmed. Final authorization granted. He caught Lyra's eye from where she sat in the observer section. She had received the same message. She gave an almost imperceptible nod and quietly left the chamber. Does the human representative wish to comment on the Council's decision? Voxthar asked, a hint of smugness in his voice. Gregory took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would change the course of human history in the galaxy. I request permission to address the Council one final time before this session ends, he said firmly. Voxthar looked surprised but nodded. The Council recognizes Ambassador Miller for a final statement. Gregory stood tall, looking around at the alien faces that had, for 15 years, regarded humanity as little more than troublesome children. For 2 centuries, humans have tried to be good citizens of this galactic community. We have shared our art, our science, our resources. We have followed your rules, respected your traditions, and defended your borders alongside our own. He paused, making eye contact with several key council members. And for 2 centuries, this council has treated humans as lesser beings. You have dismissed our concerns, restricted our growth, and exploited our innovations while giving little in return. The chamber grew tense as Gregory continued. Today, you have made it clear that humans will never be true equals in this council. Therefore, by the authority granted to me by the President and Congress of the Earth Alliance, I hereby invoke Protocol Omega. Councillor Voxthar frowned. What is this Protocol Omega? We have no such procedure in council records. Gregory's lips curved into a small sad smile. No, you wouldn't. Protocol Omega is a human directive. As of this moment, all diplomatic ties between humanity and the Galactic Council are severed. All human personnel, ships, and resources will be withdrawn from Council space within 48 hours. A wave of shocked murmurs swept through the chamber. You cannot be serious, Voxthar sputtered. I have never been more serious, Counselor, Gregory replied. Humanity is leaving. You wanted us contained. Well, now you won't have to worry about us at all. With that, Gregory Miller stepped down from the platform and walked out of the council chamber, leaving stunned silence in his wake. The news spread through Concordia Station like wildfire. Humans were leaving, all of them. Every embassy, trading post, and research facility across council space was shutting down. Gregory Miller walked briskly through the human embassy, where staff packed essential items and destroyed sensitive documents. Screens around the embassy showed similar scenes playing out at human outposts across 27 star systems. Ambassador Admiral Wells has arrived in orbit, Lyra reported, entering his office with a data tablet. Her fleet will escort all human ships home. Gregory nodded, watching as Daniel Foster, their communications specialist, systematically wiped the embassy's databases. How are the evacuations progressing? Better than expected, Lyra said. We've been preparing for this possibility for years. Most outposts report 90% completion already. The door chimed, and Peter Collins, Director of Earth Intelligence, entered without waiting for permission. His usually calm face showed rare excitement. The council is in emergency session, he reported. They didn't believe you were serious until human ships started undocking across the station. Gregory smiled grimly. They never do take us seriously. That's been the problem all along. Peter handed him a small device. You should see this. Live. Feed from the council chamber. The holographic display showed chaos. Counselors shouted over each other while Voxthar repeatedly banged his staff for order. The reptilian scales had darkened to an agitated purple. This is nothing but a human negotiation tactic, Counselor Gentil was saying, mandibles clicking, rapidly. They seek to force concessions through this theatrical display. Counselor Meridine, one of the few who had voted against the restrictions, stood tall. I warned this council repeatedly about dismissing human concerns. Now we face the consequences of our arrogance. Gregory switched off the feed. They still don't understand. This isn't a negotiation. A soft alert sounded throughout the embassy. Lyra checked her device. That's the final call. All non-essential. Personnel should be boarding transport ships now. Outside the embassy windows, Gregory could see dozens of human ships preparing to depart. Cargo vessels, civilian transports, and research ships formed an orderly line toward the station's exit ports. The door chimed again. This time, it was Counselor Meridine who entered, looking distressed. The Proximan's slender form seemed more fragile than usual under the embassy lights. Ambassador Miller, please reconsider this course of action, Meridine said, her melodic voice strained. The council was wrong, but this response will damage centuries of progress. Gregory gestured for her to sit, but she remained standing. The progress has been one-sided, Counselor. Humans have adapted to council ways, learned council languages, followed council rules. What has the council done to accommodate humans? Some of us have tried, she said softly. Yes, you have. And we appreciate the few like you. But the majority view us as useful tools at best, dangerous children at worst. Gregory closed his personal terminal. The decision is made. Meridine's large eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress in her species. What of our trade agreements, the joint research projects, the cultural exchanges? All suspended, effective immediately. Gregory's tone was firm but not unkind. Perhaps someday, on more equal terms, we can rebuild those connections. The council has voted to officially apologize, she said desperately. They are drafting the statement now. Gregory laughed, a short, humorless sound. An apology drafted in panic, not sincerity. Too little, too late. The embassy shook slightly as a nearby ship detached from its docking port. Time was running short. Ambassador, Lyra called from the doorway. Admiral Wells requests your presence on the command ship. We need to complete the evacuation within the hour. Gregory nodded and turned back to Meridine. I am truly sorry, Counselor. You have been a friend to humanity, when few others were. But Protocol Omega is not reversible at this stage. He offered his hand in the human gesture of farewell. After a moment's hesitation, Meridine placed her slender fingers against his palm. What comes next? She asked quietly. Humans will focus on our own space, our own problems, our own future, Gregory replied. The border of human territory will be closed to all council traffic. Meridine's eyes widened. But several council worlds depend on trade routes through human space. The economic disruption will be immense. Yes, it will. Gregory didn't elaborate further. He didn't need to. The Proximan understood the implications. As Meridine left the embassy, Gregory gathered his final personal items. A family photo, a small piece of rock from Earth, the ceremonial pen he had used to sign the now meaningless council membership treaty 2 decades ago. The walk to the docking bay was surreal. Alien residents of Concordia lined the corridors, watching silently as the last humans departed. Some looked concerned, others curious, a few even pleased. None tried to stop them. At the main docking port, a surprise awaited Gregory. A small group of non-humans stood near the human transport ship, carrying bags and cases. What's this? Gregory asked a nearby security officer. They're requesting asylum, the officer explained. Merchants, researchers, and others who have close ties with humans. They want to leave with us. Gregory approached the group. A Centaurian merchant he recognized stepped forward. Ambassador Miller, we have lived and worked alongside humans for many years. We choose to go with you rather than remain in council space. Gregory considered this unexpected development. Protocol Omega didn't specifically address non-human refugees, but the principle was clear. Humanity was making a clean break. Yet turning away those who had been true friends seemed against the spirit of human values. Verify their identities and ensure they understand this is a one-way journey, Gregory instructed the security team. If they still wish to join us, they may. As the refugees were processed, Admiral Samantha Wells met Gregory at the airlock of her command ship, the UES Determination. All human outposts report complete evacuation, Ambassador, she said crisply. We're just waiting on you and the embassy staff. Gregory looked back one last time at Concordia Station, the grand diplomatic hub that had represented the height of interspecies cooperation. For 2 centuries, humans had tried to be part of something greater than themselves. Signal all ships, he told the admiral. We leave together. The massive fleet of human vessels, diplomatic, military, commercial, and civilian, moved in perfect coordination away from Concordia. The station's traffic control made frantic requests for explanation, for negotiation, for delay. All went unanswered. As the Determination prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel, Gregory watched on the view screen as other council ships scrambled to organize. Some appeared to be preparing to follow the human fleet. They won't be able to track us through the jump, Admiral Wells assured him. They'll try to follow anyway, Gregory replied. Old habits die hard. And when they reach our border? Gregory's expression was calm but determined. They'll find it closed. The defensive grid is already active. The stars stretched into lines as the human fleet jumped away, leaving the Galactic Council behind to face the consequences of their centuries of condescension and dismissal. Humanity had decided their future lay elsewhere. Protocol Omega had begun. 3 months passed since the humans left. The effects rippled through council space like a growing storm. Counselor Voxthar stared out the viewport of his private chamber on Concordia Station. The view had changed dramatically. Where once hundreds of ships moved in orderly patterns, now only a fraction remained. Trade had slowed to a crawl. The latest reports, High Counselor, his aide said, placing a data tablet on the desk. Voxthar's scales darkened as he reviewed the information. 4 more council trading posts had closed due to pirate attacks. The Rigelian grain shipments to the Draconian worlds were 3 weeks late. Without human patrol ships guarding the neutral corridors, pirates grew bolder by the day. Any word from the diplomatic mission to human space? He asked. None, sir. The 3 ships we sent haven't returned or communicated since they approached the human border 6 days ago. Voxthar hissed in frustration. This was the 3rd mission that had failed to make contact. The door chimed, and Counselor Genti entered without waiting for permission. The insectoid's normally pristine carapace looked dull, a sign of stress in his species. The Centaurian representative has withdrawn from the council, Genti announced. That makes 5 members who have recalled their ambassadors. They blame us for the humans leaving, Voxthar said bitterly. They are not wrong, a voice said, from the doorway. Counselor Meridine stood there, her slender form silhouetted against the corridor lights. I warned this council repeatedly about dismissing human concerns. Voxthar gestured for her to enter. Despite their differences, he had come to value the Proximan's insights in recent weeks. What news from the border regions? He asked her. Human defensive line is complete, she replied. A network of automated platforms extends across their entire territory. They allow no ships to enter or leave. Surely they must trade with someone. Genti clicked his mandibles in disbelief. They are self-sufficient, Meridine reminded him. Their territory contains all the resources they need. We needed them. They never truly needed us. A priority. Alert flashed on Voxthar's terminal. He opened it to find a message from the Science Directorate. This cannot be right, he muttered as he read. The Draconian medical crisis. They say the vaccine synthesizers have stopped working. What does that have to do with humans? Genti asked. Meridine answered quietly. The synthesizers were built with human biotech components, without regular maintenance from human technicians. But the Draconians claimed they developed that technology themselves, Voxthar protested, as did the Zendari with their atmospheric processors, and the Rigelians with their advanced farming techniques, Meridine said. Many council races took credit for human innovations. Now we discover how much we relied on them. Voxthar slumped in his chair, suddenly looking old. The council is falling apart without them. In a small cafe far from the council chambers, Eric Bennett sipped a bitter drink that poorly imitated earth coffee. 3 months of living in the shadows had changed him. Longer hair, a beard, and alien clothes helped him blend in among the station's diverse population. To everyone around him, he was just another merchant stranded when the humans left. In reality, he was the only human intelligence agent remaining in council space. "More refreshment?" asked the server, a young Arcturian with vibrant blue skin. "No, thank you," Eric replied in fluent Arcturian. He paid his bill and left, careful, not to draw attention. His tiny apartment in the station's lower levels served as both home and operations center. Hidden beneath a loose floor panel, a secure communications device allowed him to send encrypted messages to human space. Eric activated the device and composed his daily report. Council economy continuing downward trend. 5 member species have withdrawn representatives. Pirate activity increased 200% in formerly human-patrolled sectors. Council has discovered their reliance on human technology in multiple crucial systems. Civil unrest reported on 12 worlds due to resource shortages. He sent the message, knowing it would bounce through several relay points before reaching human space. His orders were simple: observe and report. Take no action unless absolutely necessary. Across the vast emptiness of space, Commander Kara Martinez guided her patrol ship along the border of human territory. The UES Vigilant was one of 50 vessels maintaining the defensive line that now separated humans from the rest of the galaxy. "Approaching Patrol Point 7, her navigation officer reported. "Sensors show 3 vessels holding position just outside our boundary." "Council ships?" Kara asked. "Yes, Commander. 1 diplomatic vessel and 2 escort ships. They've been broadcasting requests for communication on all frequencies." Kara nodded. "Same as the others. Maintain course and ignore their signals." "Commander," her communications officer spoke up, "I know our orders, but this is the 6th diplomatic mission they've sent. Maybe we should listen to what they have to say." Kara considered this. She had served 15 years in the fleet and had seen how the council treated humans. The patronizing attitudes, the dismissal of human concerns, the constant restrictions. "Our orders come directly from Earth Command," she replied firmly. "No communication with council ships, no exceptions." She watched on the view screen as they passed the waiting council vessels. The once proud ships now seemed small and desperate. "They're launching a communication probe," the sensor officer reported. "Trajectory suggests it's headed toward our space." "Intercept and disable," Kara ordered. A small defensive drone shot out from the Vigilant, quickly neutralizing the incoming probe with a targeted energy pulse. "They're backing off," the officer confirmed. "Returning to council space." Kara nodded, satisfied. The border would hold. On the council world of Dracos Prime, panic spread through the capital city. The plague that had been contained for decades was returning. Without functioning vaccine synthesizers, millions were at risk. Councillor Techlor, the Draconian representative, addressed his government's emergency session. "We must find a way to contact the humans," he insisted, pounding his scaled fist on the podium. "Our people will die without their medical technology." "The council has tried," another minister shouted. "They won't respond to any communication." "Then we must try independently," Techlor replied. "Perhaps they will speak to us if we approach them alone without the council's involvement." "And betray our council oaths?" the minister asked, shocked. Techlor's eyes narrowed. "I choose the survival of our people over loyalty to a failing council." Similar conversations happened across council space, as individual civilizations began to consider their options. Some prepared their own diplomatic missions to human space. Others sought alternative trade routes that wouldn't require council approval. The carefully constructed galactic political system that had stood for centuries was crumbling, all because one species had simply decided to go home. In his private chambers on Earth, Gregory Miller reviewed the latest intelligence reports from Council space. The data confirmed what they had predicted. Without human involvement, the Council was facing a crisis it was ill-equipped to handle. How long before they break? Asked President Allen West, who had joined the briefing via secure channel. Gregory considered the question carefully. The more advanced worlds might last a year. The others are already at their breaking point. And when they come begging for our return? Gregory's expression remained neutral, but his eyes showed determination. Then we present our terms. No. More second-class treatment. No more dismissal of our concerns. Equal standing or nothing. They won't like that, the president noted. No, Gregory agreed. But they'll accept it. They have no choice. 6 months had passed since the humans departed. The Galactic Council chamber, once a place of order and dignity, now stood half empty. Only 14 of the original 27 members still sent representatives. The Grand Room's maintenance had been neglected. Lights flickered occasionally and the temperature control systems worked poorly. Councillor Voxthar called the session to order, his once bright scales now a dull gray from stress and poor health. We must address the growing crisis, he began, his voice lacking its former strength. The Draconian worlds report widespread disease outbreaks. The Rigelian farming systems are failing. 6 more trading outposts have been abandoned due to pirate attacks. Councillor Gentil, who had once been the most vocal anti-human voice in the chamber, spoke next. Our attempts to reverse engineer human technology have failed. Our best scientists cannot replicate their medical systems or agricultural methods. Because they were never meant to be maintained without humans, Councillor Maradine noted. Humans built them that way deliberately as a safeguard. You mean as a trap? Gentil clicked angrily. No, Maradine replied calmly. As insurance against exactly this situation. They knew someday the council might turn against them. The chamber fell silent as the representatives absorbed this truth. For centuries, humans had shared their technology while building independence. They had created tools the council races could use but never fully control. We have no choice, Voxthar said finally. We must formally request their return. The council chamber erupted in a mix of angry protests and desperate agreement. After hours of debate, the vote was taken. By a slim margin, the council approved a formal apology and request for human re-engagement. 2 days later, a council delegation approached the border of human space. Unlike previous missions, this one carried the highest officials. Voxthar himself led the group. Their 3 ships waited at the designated coordinates, broadcasting their peaceful intentions on all frequencies. After 12 tense hours, a human ship appeared. Smaller than the council vessels, but sleek and advanced, it carried a simple message. We will meet. 1 representative only, unarmed. Voxthar prepared to board his shuttle alone when a communication came through. The human ship transmitted a visual signal showing a human in formal diplomatic attire. I am Ambassador Ryan Martinez representing the Human Alliance, the man said. We will meet aboard our vessel. Voxthar had no choice but to agree. He entered the human ship with as much dignity as he could muster, though he felt deeply uncomfortable, being surrounded by humans after months of vilifying them. Ambassador Martinez led him to a simple meeting room with a single table and 2 chairs. High Counselor Voxthar, Martinez nodded respectfully. It has been 6 months since our departure. 6 difficult months, Voxthar admitted. The Council has authorized me to extend a formal apology for our past treatment of humans. We request your return to Council space and the restoration of all previous agreements. Martinez's expression remained neutral. I see. And what guarantees would humans have that the same patterns would not repeat? We are prepared to offer humans a seat on the High Council, Voxthar said, revealing the major concession they had debated for weeks. Equal standing with the founding races. Martinez opened a data pad and pushed it across the table. These are our terms for re-engagement. Voxthar read the document, his scales darkening with each paragraph. This is outrageous. You demand complete autonomy within Council space, exemption from Council technology oversight, and independent security authority? Yes, Martinez replied simply. Those are our non-negotiable terms. The Council will never accept this, Voxthar hissed. Then the Council will continue to decline, Martinez stated. You approached us, Counselor, not the other way around. Voxthar struggled to maintain his composure. Perhaps we can find a middle ground. There is no middle ground, Martinez said firmly. For too long, humans accepted second-class status in exchange for peace. That time is over. Back on Concordia Station, Lisa Wright worked frantically in her hidden laboratory. As one of the few humans who had stayed behind because of her marriage to a Centaurian scientist, she found herself in increasing danger. Her communication device beeped. It was her husband, Zorn. Council security forces are searching the science sector, he warned. They're looking for anyone with knowledge of human technology. Lisa quickly began shutting down her equipment. She had been working on repairing medical synthesizers for the station's hospital, even though doing so violated the strict terms of Protocol Omega. I need 10 more minutes to finish this batch of vaccines, she told Zorn. These children will die without them. You have 5 minutes, Zorn replied tensely. Then we must move to our backup location. Lisa worked as quickly as she could. Though officially all humans had left, a small number had remained behind. Those with deep personal connections to other species, or who disagreed with the total withdrawal. Most lived in hiding, as anti-human sentiment had grown among those who blamed humans for the growing crisis. In his hidden apartment, Eric Bennett received an encrypted message from Earth Command. His mission parameters had changed. Contact individual council representatives, the message read. Offer separate treaties with willing races. Standard terms apply. Eric understood immediately. Earth was implementing the next phase of protocol, Omega, bypassing the Council entirely to deal with individual species. It was a strategy designed to fracture the Council beyond repair. On the border of human space, 5 ships from the Proximan homeworld approached cautiously. Unlike the official Council delegation, they came without fanfare or grand pronouncements. Commander Kara Martinez observed them from the bridge of the UES Vigilant. They're broadcasting on a restricted frequency, her communications officer reported, with surprise. It's the old human Proximan trade channel. Put it through, Kara ordered. The image of Counselor Meridine appeared on screen. Commander, we come seeking a private audience with human representatives. We bring no Council authority or demands. Kara consulted her updated orders. Your request will be forwarded to Earth Command. Hold position and await response. Within an hour, permission came through. The Proximans would be the first species to negotiate independently with humans since the withdrawal. On Earth, Gregory Miller observed these developments with satisfaction. Now special advisor to the President on Alien Relations, he had helped design this strategy years ago. The Proximans were always our closest allies on the Council, he told President West. Others will follow their lead. And the Council itself? The President asked. Already fracturing beyond repair, Gregory confirmed. 7 more species have requested private channels of communication with us. Each one weakens the Council's authority. And Voxthar? Gregory smiled slightly. Ambassador Martinez reports he's returning to Concordia with our terms. When they're rejected, as they surely will be, at least 3 more races will break ranks immediately. The plan is working perfectly, the President noted. Yes, Gregory agreed. After centuries of being treated as second-class citizens of the galaxy, humans are finally in position to reshape the order of things, not through conquest or violence, but simply by showing the galaxy what it looks like when we're not there. As night fell on Concordia Station, the once gleaming jewel of galactic cooperation now dim and partially powered, Counselor Voxthar stared at the human terms again. He knew the Council would reject them. He also knew that rejection would spell The end of the council as they knew it. The humans had won without firing a single shot. 1 year had passed since humans walked away from the Galactic Council. The galaxy had changed more in those 12 months than in the previous century. In the grand hall of what was once the Galactic Council chamber, representatives from 22 spacefaring civilizations gathered, but this was not a council meeting. The council, as it had existed for centuries, was gone. Gregory Miller stood at the center of the chamber, no longer just an ambassador but now the Secretary of Interstellar Relations for the Human Alliance. Beside him stood President Claire Johnson, making her first visit to Concordia Station. "We welcome you to the first assembly of the Interstellar Cooperative," President Johnson announced to the gathered representatives. "Today marks a new beginning for relations between our civilizations." The room looked different. The tiered seating that had once placed some species above others was gone, replaced by a circular arrangement where all representatives sat at the same level. The human delegation occupied no special position, just one section of the circle like everyone else. Former Councillor Meradine, now the Proximan representative to the cooperative, addressed the assembly. "For too long, our relations were built on old power structures and hidden prejudices. The humans showed us the cost of such arrogance when they left. In the year since the human departure, 16 individual species had signed separate treaties with the Human Alliance. These treaties guaranteed fair trade, technological cooperation, and mutual defense. Most importantly, they recognized the full sovereignty of each signatory race. Voxthar watched from a small observer section, no longer a high counselor but merely a representative of his diminished homeworld. His species had resisted the changes too long, clinging to the old council structure until it completely collapsed 3 months ago. "The treaties are before you," Gregory Miller said, gesturing to the data pads on each representative's desk. "The Interstellar Cooperative is founded on principles of mutual respect and benefit. No race holds authority over another. All technological sharing is voluntary, not coerced. All security concerns are addressed equally." The representatives reviewed the documents. Most had already seen and approved preliminary versions. This was largely a formality, the public birth of a new galactic order. Not everyone was pleased. In orbit around Concordia, a small fleet of ships from the former Council hardliners had gathered. 5 species that had benefited most from the old system now faced a greatly diminished role. On the bridge of the lead ship, former Councillor Genti clicked his mandibles angrily. "They remake the galaxy without our consent," he told his officers. "We should remind them of our power." His ships moved toward Concordia Station, weapon systems powering up. The insectoid commander believed the humans and their allies would back down when faced with military action. The old council races still had powerful fleets after all. "Sir," his sensor officer reported with concern. "Unknown objects detected approaching from multiple vectors." "Human ships?" Genti asked. "No, sir. Much smaller. Possibly automated platforms." Before Genti could respond, tiny silver spheres surrounded his fleet. Hundreds of them, each no larger than a small shuttle, took position around every ship. Communication signal came through on all frequencies. "This is Commander Kara Martinez of the Human Alliance Defense Force. Your vessels have entered a restricted zone with weapons active. Power down immediately." Genti laughed. "These toys do not frighten us, human. We have the most powerful ships in the galaxy." "You were warned," came the simple reply. The silver spheres emitted no visible weapon fire, no dramatic beams or projectiles. Instead, the hardliner ships simply went dark. All systems shut down simultaneously. Life support remained active, but weapons, engines, and shields failed completely. Inside the assembly hall, the proceedings continued undisturbed. The representatives had been quietly informed of the situation but shown no alarm. The Human Alliance had promised security, and they had delivered. "How did they do that?" Voxthar whispered to Meradine, who sat nearby. "Defense technology the humans never shared with the Council," she replied. "They developed it while preparing for Protocol Omega. Non-destructive but completely effective. We never knew their true capabilities," Voxthar realized. "That was your mistake," Meradine said softly. You saw what you expected to see. In the outer regions of what had been Council space, human ships now patrolled alongside vessels from their treaty partners. The pirate attacks that had plagued the trade routes had virtually disappeared. The human alliance had made restoration of security its first priority. Lisa Wright no longer needed to hide, now serving as the chief medical liaison between humans and other species. She worked openly in Concordia's main hospital. The vaccine synthesizers functioned perfectly again, and her Centaurian husband Zorn worked alongside her. The supply ships from Earth arrived early, he told her as they walked through the hospital ward. The new medical equipment will be installed by tomorrow. Lisa smiled. The children's ward needs it most. We've had too many young ones suffering while the council debated politics. On the observation deck of the station, Eric Bennett watched the disabled ships being towed away from Concordia. His covert mission had ended 6 months ago when humans officially returned. Now he served as a security advisor, using his knowledge of the station's hidden vulnerabilities to strengthen protections for all residents. "Quite a view," said a voice behind him. It was Gregory Miller. "Secretary Miller," Eric nodded respectfully. "I didn't expect to see you up here." "Needed a moment of quiet before the signing ceremony," Gregory said, looking out at the stars. "1 year ago we took a gamble. We weren't sure how it would play out." "It worked better than expected," Eric noted. Gregory smiled slightly. "Yes and no. We hope to reform the council, not replace it completely. But sometimes you have to tear down to rebuild properly." In the Great Hall, President Johnson and representatives from 22 worlds signed the founding charter of the Interstellar Cooperative. The document stated clearly that all members stood as equals, with humans claiming no special authority despite their central role in creating the new organization. When the formal proceedings ended, Gregory found Lyra Sutton waiting for him outside the chamber. His former assistant had become Earth's new ambassador to the cooperative. "Full circle," she said with a smile. "1 year ago we walked out of this chamber. Now we walk back in, but on very different terms." "Was it worth it?" Gregory asked. "The risk, the hardship many worlds suffered during the transition?" Lyra looked thoughtful. "Sometimes a fever must break before healing can begin. The old system was unsustainable." They watched as representatives from formerly hostile species spoke cordially with each other. Without the council's hierarchy encouraging competition and resentment, new relationships formed based on genuine mutual interest. "Humans needed to be seen for what we truly are," Gregory said. "Not children to be guided, not threats to be contained, but equals with our own strengths and contributions." "And all it took was leaving," Lyra observed. "Sometimes the most powerful statement is simply walking away," Gregory replied. "The galaxy needed to see what it looked like without us." As night fell on Concordia Station, the lights burned brighter than they had in months. Power systems functioned properly again. The habitat rings were fully pressurized. The sound of multiple species conversing, trading, and living together filled the corridors. In his temporary quarters, President Johnson reviewed the day's events with her advisors. "Is this arrangement stable?" she asked Gregory. "Will it last?" "Nothing lasts forever," he answered honestly. "But we've built something better than what came before. Species working together from a position of equality rather than dominance and submission." "And the hardliners?" "Will adjust or become irrelevant," Gregory said. "They have no choice. The galaxy has moved on." As humans and their new allies celebrated the birth of the Interstellar Cooperative, the stars continued their eternal dance outside. The galaxy itself was unchanged, but the relationships within it had been transformed forever. All because one species had finally said, "Enough," and simply walked away.